Welcome, welcome, welcome to our back to school open house presentation. Today we're going to go over 4 topics for our open house, which will be communication and what that looks like, the learning layout and structuring of the class, virtual expectations, and KCC policies. First, we're going to start with communication and we'll be going over meet the teacher, contact information and hours, and class website information. Hello, hello. For those that don't know me, I am Miss Davis and I am one of the second grade professors here at KCC. I am going into my 4th year with KCC Southeast. I am the team lead for our second grade teachers here, and I am also over student ambassadors, and I coached cheerleading last year and a year and a half before that. So, a little bit about me. I was born and raised in Meridian, Mississippi, and I have now been in Florida for about 7 years. My degree is in communication sciences and disorders, of which I worked with speech therapy for 3 years. I have my teaching certificate in pre K through 3rd grade, and I love working with children, just getting to see them be successful and help them attain their goals is something that's super important to me. And it's just such an honorable job to have. I've worked with a wide array of disabilities and done a lot of work with differentiating for my individual learners. It is my belief that every child can and will be successful with the right supports in place. And I hope that your child leaves my class with not only having learned the content and skills for second grade, but also just having developed a lifelong love for learning as I have for myself. A little bit about my family. Pictured here, I have my mother who is here in Florida with me down in Riverview. She is an educator. I also have my sister and family pictured here with my nephew and niece, Jonah and Joelle. Pictured here, my brother-in-law is not here. My sister is also an educator down in Mississippi. I have my partner Davian here with me in Florida and my puppy Peyton, who I've had for about 9 years, and he is full of energy and just so much spunk. So just some of the things that I enjoy doing in my spare time. I enjoy doing yoga. I actually teach yoga at Sun State Yoga Studio in St. Petersburg, and I also teach classes myself just on the side. I love doing outdoor activities, pretty much anything in nature that involves water, the beach. I love spending quality time with my loved ones, and honestly, one that you don't hear often is I love reading and I love to learn. It's one of the things that's very interesting about me because I am always learning and in some kind of class that is about something. Not much to say here. It's just some of the photos of me doing some of the things that I love to partake in. Here we have listed contact information. The first method of contact is my KCC email, which should be your primary method of contacting me. So if it's just something that is not an emergency and you just, you need an answer to something, that would be and should be your primary method of contacting me. I would suggest giving at least 24 hours of wait time for me to respond, just because with being at work all day and then in life, you just want to be give the ability for me to see the email and respond with efficiency and with the best information possible that I could give. Um, an additional contact method would be I listed a Google Voice number here, which is a secondary method of contact. And this contact is only really here for mostly like if my hybrid students, if they were having tech issues, or if it's just absolutely an emergency and it's something you need to reach me for, like in that moment, that is what this number is here for. So I would be mindful of only calling that number if it's just absolutely an emergency. And in that same sentence, if it is an emergency, you could always call the front office and they will be able to reach me as well. But I did want to extend that offering to you and know that it is available for you to use. It acts just like a phone. It can call, you can call it, text it, and it will come directly to my line. And another form, oh, what, pause before being for the Google Voice number, please be mindful that after 3:30 I will no longer be available as far as on the clock to respond. I wouldn't respond until the next day, the next morning, probably around 7:30. And the other method is our class website, which on there it has a form that you can contact me through and submit, and it will come and act just as an email. And so yeah, that one is just, it acts just like an email. So here we have our class website, myteachermsdavis.weebly.com, which is just the base part of the website. For my virtual learners, you will always go to slash virtual learning home, and that will bring you directly to everything that is meant for the virtual learning. Um, but even in-person class, you guys have access to all of those things. We have a parents corner, a student corner, a what's happening in class, which sometimes I will post just little blogs and things about what's going on. And it's just a way to be informed about everything that's happening in the class. This is a big part of my communication, other than also the emails as well. I do weekly emails, and this is also an additional place that you should bookmark and save because I post a lot of relevant and current information of what's going on in class on our class website. And that wraps up our first part of the communication topic. And now we're going to move into our learning layout, which will go over the schedule, daily lesson cycle, homework, online platforms, assignment submission, inquiry-based learning, and student data tracking. Next, we're going to look at our schedule for in-person and hybrid. They have been created to align very nicely together. So from 8:30 to 8:40, that will be attendance time will be taken during that time, as well as our class meeting. Starting at 8:40 to 10 o'clock will be our ELA time block for hybrid online students. The live lesson will be from 8:40 to about 9:15, and then starting at 9:15 to 10 will be independent practice time. So during that time, you will be able to log off, go do your Explore It activity or use those resources, and your independent and your Prove It assignment, which is all done independently. You do have the option to stay on for support or guidance. So don't feel obligated to log off, but know that that's the time where if you'd like to go do your independent practice, that would be the time to do it. Starting at 10 o'clock to 10:30 is our teacher-led recess time for you to just kind of get a break there. For our online learners, that'll be some kind of outside activity, or you can just take a break. For our in-person students, there is time carved out in our schedule for hand washing and just sanitizing and doing anything necessary health-wise to make sure that we are maintaining safety. Starting at 10:43 to 11:23 for both in-person and hybrid, though that is our specials and electives time. For our hybrid students, you will go on to the website. So for our e-learner students or our hybrid students, they will be able to go into Google Classroom, I believe, for their electives, and I think they will be able to select what elective they do. Starting at 11:30 to 12 will be lunchtime for both in person and at home. At 12 o'clock to 1 will be our science and social studies block. For our hybrid students, the live lesson will be from about 12 o'clock to 12:30, and then they will be able to go off and do independent practice from 12:30 to 1. Again, please keep in mind they can stay on for support. They are not required to get off, but they do have that time to do that. Starting at 1:05 to 2:15 is our math block. And then for our hybrid students, the live math instruction will be from 1:05 to 1:40. And starting at 1:40 to 2:15, they will be able to go off to do their independent practice. And then at the end of the day, for all of our students from 2:15 to 2:55, that will be a designated time for any teacher support, small groups, or anything like that, a time for you to reach out if you don't understand something or anything of that nature. So that is our schedule. So, our daily lesson cycle. This is something that I've created that will go along with the style of learning that I'm teaching, and it is relevant to both in person students and my hybrid learners as well. So, the idea is it gives, especially the students at home, a, a platform or guidance of what they should be doing throughout the day. So the first step would be learn it, which which is the instructional portion. So my hybrid learners, that's when you get on live and you get the instructional portion of the day. Practice it, which is where you have guided practice with the teacher. So that again, that's the live portion. You'll stay on live for that. And then we come to our Explore It, which is where independent practice begins. So this is where I will have two resources uploaded to help you explore the content or skill, or to investigate any inquiries on the content that was created during class. My in-person students will also be able to explore and navigate the things we're learning a little bit deeper as well. And then after exploring a little bit more of this content or skill or inquiries, we move into the prove it section of our cycle, which is basically where you show what you know. And that's your independent practicing of the content and skill for that day or for that lesson. And then we move into 5, which is share it, which basically for my in class students, that will be submitting your work. Hybrid students, that's where you submit your work to Google Classroom. And this is also the time for hybrid or in-person students. We'll have a little bit of time where you can share maybe any information you found on your investigation of the inquiries or anything like that. You can share it during that time. For my hybrid students, if you want to share anything you found during Explore It, you would be able to post that onto our Google Classroom stream, and we'd be able to see it there as well. And then finally, ending out our daily lesson cycle is our extended, which again is still independent. This is where I will post an additional resource to just extend learning. And I'll go into that a little bit further in one of our other slides, what extended looks like. Okay, so here is where I'm going to talk about our extended a little bit more, because basically extended is what our homework portion will be. So it's important to know that homework will not be for a grade, but it is highly encouraged. Homework is always an extension of what is being learned in the classroom, and it's a great tool to enhance and or support all learners. Homework will be the extension of our daily lesson cycle, which I've already said, the extended portion. It will always have a resource, assignment, or task in each subject. I encourage doing the extended activity for reading, ELA, and math every day, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and do science and social studies as you see fit. if you have the time or if you just want more enrichment in those subjects. There will be no homework on Fridays. So here we have our online platforms that we will be utilizing. And this is for all learners. There really isn't a distinction of really who can access, like everyone will have access to all of these platforms. So first we have our Google Classroom, which again, hybrid and in person will be able to have access to this. However, just my hybrid learners, this is where you will submit all of your assignments or assessments and things like that. And then all of the students will be able to submit things to the stream, our Google Classroom stream on there, which will be where you can post Explore It investigations or anything you find there, as well as just a space for us to communicate as a class and just to build community. So both hybrid and in-person students will be able to have access to that. Everyone will have access to our class website. However, hybrid students, my virtual classroom home base, it's important that you go there because that is where you're going to find literally everything encompassed of what you have to do for the week. And then also it has every subject, which will have your practice it, explore it. It'll have all that information, and that is where you will find that at. So it's super important that you are utilizing the class website virtual classroom home base for pretty much all that kind of information. And the class Google Classroom is only where you're going to submit assignments, or if you're just wanting to share something through our Google Classroom stream. So it'll be very important to really hear what I'm saying there. Google Classroom is for submissions of assignments or to just communicate and talk to your other classmates. But your virtual classroom at our class website, that is where you're going to find just like an all-encompassing, this is everything I have to do this week. And here under each subject, you'll be able to see, okay, here's my explore it, my practice it, I'm sharing it here, and here's my extended. So even in class students, you'll have access to see what extended activity there is for that subject for your homework. Then we have our EDSB, which is where you access grades, and that's everyone will have access there. We have McGraw-Hill Education, which is where we have our reading curriculum for Wonders, as well as our social studies curriculum, Florida Social Studies. So you'll go there to access both of those. And again, both of our students will have, all of our students will have access there. And then we have Moby Max, which is a pretty cool new addition to our school. It's kind of like an all-encompassing of every subject, social studies, science, math, reading, grammar. It just kind of has a little bit of everything. And again, every student will have a login and access to this. We have Mayan, which is not a new addition to our school. It's actually something everyone probably is familiar with, unless you might not have been at our school. And Mayan is just a tool where you can go on and find books that on your level that you like, and you can read and take comprehension tests and quizzes like that. And then last but not least, we have Class Dojo, which is our tool that we're using to monitor and track behaviors in the classroom and for my hybrid learners as well. So that's a tool that both of our online and in-person students will also have access to. And Class Dojo is a pretty cool and fun tool as well. All right, so moving into assignment submission and how to submit assignments to Google Classroom. Okay, so first you will go to Google Classroom, and of course, this can be done online or you can download the app, which will be pretty cool for if you are taking a picture of the assignments, which I'll explain in a second. So you can go to Google Classroom via the web through your computer or on the app on your phone, and then you're going to go to classwork. Once you get to classwork, you're going to click the subject or topic that you are trying to submit the assignment for. So for example, if you are submitting a reading assignment, you'll click reading. If you're submitting a math assignment, you'll click math. Or if you're doing an assessment, you'll click assessment. So, and vice versa. So you'll pick the assignment or the subject that you're looking for. And then step 3, you're going to find and click the assignment name. You can find the assignment name under the Prove It section, or the Prove It section of the class website, and that's going to tell you exactly which assignment you're trying to submit or upload. And then you're going to click Add Create, click on the Add Create icon to upload any papers that are completed by hand, or you're going to click if there is a file that is already in there to be completed. So for example, some assignments will be completed on hand in the binder that you have. And then you will just take a picture of it, and then you're going to click that Add Create icon to upload it. Or there's going to be some times where you don't do it by hand and there is an assignment or file inside of that folder that you'll click on, and you'll do it via the internet or online. Once you have either done the file that's in the folder or you took the picture and uploaded it, it's important that you click submit to send the assignment. It will not come to me if you do not click the submit button. So that's super important that you know to click there. All right, so inquiry-based learning. What is it and what does that look like in the classroom? So inquiry-based learning is different from traditional style learning or teaching, because traditional teaching is where the teacher picks what we're learning, she gets up in front of the class, and she has the idea of what we're doing, how we're doing it, and there it leaves little room for students to explore with the lesson. So the idea is for students to push students to think beyond their initial curiosity and to think critically about a problem or concept at hand, and for them to explore and find possible solutions and answers. There is a heavy focus on students exploring their inquiries that arise from the lessons. So this is where our Explore It comes into play in our daily lesson cycle. This is very age appropriate, grade level subjects and topics focused. It gets kids motivated by them getting to set the purpose of their learning, which is guided by the teacher so that they don't veer off track from the lesson's objective. The goal is for the teacher to set the tone of the lesson and allow students to generate questions about the lesson, and then the teacher making sure that if they start to veer off like this is not where we're going, the teacher is there to guide and steer them back and facilitate them back towards the right direction, and then allowing students to get to explore and investigate the inquiries that they come up with. And it teaches students it's teaching them how to be curious, how to be inquirers, and it teaches them also how to be creative and innovative thinkers. So students will be able to form questions under the guidance of the teacher, and they're pushed in the right direction through structured activities. It is still super structured, and it's still very, whatever the lesson we're learning on is very focused on that. Inquiry-based learning, there's a lot of active engagement going on. Research is included and involved, and it creates students deeper level thinking and questioning. And students just learn how to become these inquirers and innovative thinkers, because that's what our world needs more of. So that's what inquiry-based learning is, and that's kind of what the style of my class will be about or be like. Student data tracking. So students will be responsible for tracking their data from their different tests, such as their reading tests, uh, their spelling tests, math tests, just different tests. They will track how well they do on that test. So like for example, in the graph below, this is kind of what it'll look like. Let's say week 1 wonders, they scored a 70 on their test. And let's say that the focus was on key details and WH questions. Week 2, they scored a little bit better and they scored a 75. So a student would be able to see, oh, wow, I made progress or I did better this week. So the idea is for students to be aware of where they stand in terms of their own grades. It creates accountability, independence, and a sense of responsibility. So all my hybrid students, as well as my in class students, they will have access to this data tracking folder, and they will go into it, and that is where they will track their tests for that week. Um, yeah, so it creates really responsible students so that they know what's going on with their own learning, and they can notice like, oh man, I dropped a little bit. So if you look at week 5, they made a 65 on something, for example, and they would be like, well, I'm Miss Davis, maybe something I didn't understand. I'm not I My grade dropped here, and I kind of want to see how I can fix that. So it creates really independent and accountable students. So that wraps up our learning layout portion of our slideshow, our open house. And we are moving into virtual expectations. So we're going to go over virtual expectations, our behavior policy / class dojo, hybrid learners, and any tech problems. Virtual meeting expectations. So this is for my hybrid learners, specifically when you are home. It is important that you are on time. I'm not going to go through what each of these say. I'm just going to kind of go like an overview. So be on time, be prepared to learn, make sure you're in a quiet place, make sure that you are presented and dressed appropriately. I will touch on this one. Hybrid learners are still required to dress in a school uniform, even from home. Make sure that you mute yourself unless you are speaking. Make sure you are participating in the lesson and actively engaged, whole body active engagement. Make sure that you are chatting responsibly, both either on our Google Classroom stream as well as Zoom. So make sure you're chatting responsibly. Make sure you're being a good communicator and that you are being respectful to not only your teacher, but as well as your peers and as well as whoever may be facilitating your learning at home. Behavior policy and class dojo. So for our behaviors and tracking those, we will be using class dojo and also a ticketing system in class as well. So we'll be using a combination of these two, and this is something I'll still have to play with, just because this being a little bit new with virtual learning at home. So this I'll be using a combination of Class Dojo as well as tickets in the classroom. And tickets in the classroom, they won't be they're not shared or anything within when they receive a ticket, that's their ticket, and once we toss and throw those tickets away at the end. So we'll be using a classroom management system called MAC, which is Movement, Activity, and Conversation. And MAC sets clear expectations for students' movement during an activity, expectations and criteria for the activity that we're working on, and their conversation level during that activity. Um, so yes, again, we'll be using a combination of the ticketing system and Class Dojo for behavior to support both in-person and hybrid learners. For my hybrid learners who will be coming in twice a week for in-person learning on campus and will be doing e-learning 3 times a week from home, you all will be given a hybrid binder that will have any necessary printed materials that you will need for the first quarter only, because some of our entries for on Google Classroom may be online, but others will be paper-based. And again, as I said in the assignment submission, for those paper-based assignments or items, you will need to scan or take a photo of them and upload them. Try to refrain from removing them from the binder just to limit the chance of losing the paper, just know that you can snap a shot, take a picture of it, and upload it directly to Google Classroom. And again, if you ever are unsure of how to submit assignment again, please refer back to assignment submission for those directions. And here we have our tech problems because even though we do live in the 21st century, it is inevitable that we are going to probably face some type of technology problem. So it is important if for some reason you can't log on to Zoom, maybe something's happening with your internet at home. The first two things, you should check one to make sure that your Wi-Fi is connected at home. Two, maybe try restarting your device first to see if that fixes your issue. And if neither of those options work, to do, you can call the Google Voice number, which will be me, for support. For one, to let me know I'm having issues logging into Zoom, so that I am aware that you're having an issue. Two, for me to try my best to support you. Um, or two, to just put it on my radar to maybe where I can reach out to our tech team to see if there is something they can walk you through, or to help you get back hooked up online and things like that. So I guess the one thing that I ask is if we do face technology issues, in this first quarter or anytime throughout this year, is that we have patience not only with the technology, but have patience with each other as well. And this is something that even as for me, I'll have to have patience as well. So that's a one of the words for the year is patience. And that wraps up our part three of our open house section. And we're moving into our final section of KCC policies, where we'll go over attendance, uniforms, COVID information, safety stuff, late work, makeup work, and our IB learner profiles and attitudes. Okay, so attendance will begin at 8:30 a.m. So for my hybrid students, try to log on between 8:25 and 8:30, and attendance will be taken. And from 8:30 to 8:40, we will have our morning meeting where we'll just build community. We may read a story aloud. That time will be designated for our morning meeting. At 8:40, instruction and live instruction will begin. So my hybrid students, you definitely need to be on by 8:40 in order to catch the live instruction and to be counted present. If you do not check in by 9 a.m., parents, it will be your responsibility to call the front office or stop by the front office if you're dropping your student off to check them in, to let them know that you are indeed present. So if you do not get checked off as present before 9 o'clock a.m., you will need to call the front office to indeed let them know that they are present. And here we talk about uniforms. It is super important that you all know what students are allowed to wear and what they are not allowed to wear. Students can wear khaki bottoms only during Monday through Thursday. On Fridays, they can wear jeans with their polo KCC shirt or a KCC Spirit shirt from any of the years that they've had it. With the jackets, this is where we find the biggest issues and where we have to be super stringent this year. So it's super important that you know when students are inside of KCC walls, the jackets that they can wear need to be either the KCC logo jackets of a navy, gray, or burgundy slash maroon solid fleece. It needs to not have any writing on it, as you can see at the picture at the right, where it says the Oshkosh Bigosh maroon fleece jacket. it cannot have writing on it. It needs to be solid. That is so important for you all to know, that when inside, they cannot wear that jacket inside the building if it has writing on it and it's not navy, gray, or maroon burgundy. Also, for when they're outside, however, their jacket can look like whatever they want it to look like, because typically those are probably the bigger jackets. But I guess the biggest key thing to know for your students, especially if they're very cold, if they get cold a lot, if their jacket is not solid gray, navy, or burgundy, they will be asked to remove it. That's the biggest thing to know. Oh, and then for their shirt that they can wear during the week, it's their navy or burgundy maroon KCC polo. And here we come to our COVID-19 safety procedures or measurements that will need to be followed as we are at school, especially in person. It's crucial and critical that you wear your mask correctly over your nose and mouth, and that we limit touching the mask without having washed your hands first. So it's super important. We'll try to make sure that you wash your hands before touching that mask as much as possible. It's important that we are washing our hands with soap for 20 seconds. There are built-in hand washing times and disinfecting times in our class schedule, so that's going to be nice. Keep your distance, social distancing. For the kids, if you could explain to them what allow couch length distance between you and others. If you can kind of explain that wording to them, they'll know about how far apart they need to be from their peers, as much as possible within reason, of course. And then sanitize, sanitize, sanitize. We will be frequently sanitizing and wiping down belongings during designated times. During those hand washing times, we'll kind of also make sure that we're disinfecting and sanitizing surfaces and things like that throughout our day for safety purposes. Late work and extended time. It's important that students know that any unfinished work for the week must be submitted by Friday. Extended time will be granted on a case by case basis, and also based on any IEPs or 504 plans. Fridays are built in our schedules for work completion, testing, and just support or guidance. That is for both in person and hybrid. New content will not be delivered on Fridays. So it's super important that if you are behind on submitting an assignment, that you utilize that Friday to one, do your tests, and then also catch up on anything that you are behind on. Absent and makeup work and what that looks like. This goes for both hybrid and in person. If you are absent 1 to 2 days, when you return that week, your makeup work is due within the same week. So it's important that you get with the teacher and know how to get the any makeup work that you miss, because it's due within that same week. If you miss between 3 to 4 days, the work will be due the following Friday after the week, the days were missed. So if you miss 3 to 4 days this week, that means the makeup work won't be due until that next Friday of the next week. If you are absent a week or more, it's super important that one, you speak with the front office to alert them that you're going to be out for some reason, but then also reach out to me so that we can set up something so that you can access the assignments while you are out. That goes for if you are in person or hybrid. We can set it up to where you're still able to access that material so that you're not missing and getting behind a week's worth of lessons and activities. Cougars are balanced, caring, communicators, risk takers, open minded, thinkers, principled, reflective, knowledgeable, and inquirers. These are our IB learner profiles. Cougars have appreciation, the cooperation, empathy, tolerance, commitment, creativity, independence, enthusiasm, confidence, curiosity, respect, and integrity. These are our IB attitudes. So, how do our IB attitudes and learner profiles tie in together? Well, our IB attitudes are the root of the learner profile. So, for example, if a student has appreciation for something, they're more likely to be open minded, they're more likely to be a little bit more caring. Another example is if a cougar has curiosity, they're more likely to be inquirers, which will lead to being knowledgeable. So our IB attitudes are the root of the learner profiles. So our goal is to allow our students or teach our students how to have these roots down here, which are our attitudes, so they can grow and sprout into being our learner profiles. So that wraps up our open house PowerPoint. So thank you so much for taking the time to listen to this PowerPoint. If you have any questions whatsoever about anything that we've went over, please don't hesitate to reach out and contact me either by email. Remember that email is the primary contact method for me. The Google Voice number is secondary, and you can always use our class website to contact me through there as well, which will generate an email to my mailbox. So I have to credit the presentation of this PowerPoint was created by Slides Go, including icons by Flat Icon and infographics and images by Free Pick. So because I use their slide, I have to keep their credits there at the end. So again, thank you so much. I am looking forward to this school year for growth, forward thinking, innovative thinking, and just learning how to push through and come out stronger on the other side.